All right, so scheduling for this week. This, of course, this is for orders that are going to be scheduling on December 7th. So let's first go ahead and flash up the information so we can go over that what we're talking about here. So for those of you that are new to the channel, or maybe you're new to placing an order, you want to know what's all these terminology mean. So here it is. So order bank is where the dealer will place all their orders, stock or retail orders. A retail order is a customer placed order. So if a customer comes in, they can't find a vehicle they're liking at the dealer lot, and they want to custom order one, either or, then they'd place a retail order. A stock order would be an order placed by the dealership for their stock or lot inventory. So usually, of course, we'll talk about priorities. I'll come back to this, but priority, a dealer is given to orders. So they can give it a 03 through 19 for a retail order, or 20 to 80 for a stock order. The lower the better. It's like golf. So that's why retail orders are always looked at first. So that would be a reason and a purpose for placing a retail order, is that it will be looked at before a stock order. So scheduling is when Ford schedules an order for a production date out of the order bank. So production dates, of course, is when the vehicle is going to be built. So we're talking about scheduling for production dates in the future. So what's being built this week, with what's scheduling to be built this week for future dates. And we'll talk about those dates. Allocations, that's where Ford gives dealers allocations to schedule their orders. So having a retail order in the order bank does not necessarily mean that order will just get scheduled the next time that they're scheduling. It doesn't work that way. A dealer has to have an allocation to schedule an order in the order bank. So even if a dealer has 2 or 3 orders, if they have 0 allocations, they won't schedule until the next time they have allocations for that model. So dealership earns allocations from their sales of each model within their region. And there's some things to that. Also, they'll earn the allocations based on their sales volume, but also they gain the allocations, but they can lose allocations if they have too much inventory in stock as well. So there's a nice formula that Ford likes to use for that for each model. Constraints, those are options that may be in short supply or take longer to build. We'll talk about that, some limited exhausted availabilities and that kind of thing. Capacity is the planned production rate of a given motor, trim, option, whatever it might be. We'll talk sometimes, some of these we'll actually talk about what their capacity is, and the lower the capacity, the longer it will take to get your order scheduled, depending on how many orders are in there. Of course, there's a lot of variables that go into this. And job 1 and 2 is a production run within the model year. Every models right now are on job 1. Mustang has moved to job 2 already, and I think Super Duty as well. And then balance out is the end of production for a particular option, or maybe even a model like the Edge, which is balancing out right now as well. So, all right. So there's terminologies. Of course, at the end, we'll go through scheduling. If you have any questions on scheduling, make sure you put @Sarah Davis down there so that we can go ahead and answer questions at the end of this. So let's go through. Start with the 24 model year Mustang. There is no scheduling this week. So Mustang is not scheduling currently. But for dealers that do have a balance to schedule Mustang Dark Horse allocation, they must for that order to be eligible, they have to take off that Dark Horse handling package. It is not available right now, or that allocation may be lost, it says. Excuse me. Also, wheel 642, which is a 19 by 8.5 inch premium polished aluminum wheel. That is, says dealers should consider removing this option on their orders as soon as possible. Otherwise, their orders will have an extended delay or might not be selected for scheduling for the remainder of the model year. So, yeah, just I guess that wheel's not going to be available at all. So currently there's 892 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank for the 24 Mustang, and the order banks are open up right now if you want to order one, including the California Special, which was a job 2 option there, or package, I should say. All right, moving on. 24 model year Escape. They are scheduling for January. We call it cleanup scheduling. That's something I need out of my terminology. Cleanup means that if a dealership has a leftover allocation that then did get scheduled, they're trying to fill those last slots of what they have. So the factory may say, you know what, we have, like on Escape, we have, some actives that we have room for. So we'll try to fill in those allocations with that. So if a dealer has an allocation that hasn't been used with a retail order, they'll try to fulfill it with maybe a stock order, an active stock order if they have one in there, that kind of thing. So they are going to be, scheduling for dealers that have allocations. They are scheduling for build weeks for January as well as for February. So 2 months there that they're scheduling for. So it could be somewhere in January or February if you get scheduled. There's currently 412 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank for the Escape. Not that many. 28% of those are for plug-in hybrid. So some of the 412, even though they probably could schedule all of them, they may not all be scheduled because plug-in hybrid only, a certain percentage of those, I think 7% is their capacity for each month, can be scheduled. So it depends on, how many they can build total. 7% of that will be plugins. Well, if that number is over the 28% of the 412, then they would schedule all the plugins. But so anyway, retail order banks are open up right now for the Escape. So moving on, 24 model year Bronco Sport. They're doing, again, cleanup scheduling. So again, filling slots for dealers and such. Like for us, they were scheduling retail orders first the last couple weeks, or I should say last week. We didn't have any retail orders. So we have like 9 allocations. They weren't getting we didn't get any Bronco Sport scheduled because we had no retail orders, which is what they're doing last week. So this week is cleanup scheduling. So now they'll go through ours and try to use our allocations for stock, which we have a bunch of stocks that are previewing today. They're all Heritage Edition, by the way. It's kind of weird. They are scheduling for build weeks in January and February, so they'll fill it in where they can. One note here that is surprising to me is no scheduling for Badlands until mid-March. So if you have a Bronco Sport Badlands, go try to find one at a dealer. We have like 4 or 5 in stock. There are plenty at dealer lots. Go try to find one at a dealer lot instead of trying to do a custom order. That would be my best suggestion right now, because it's going to be a while before, if you do put in place a Badlands retail order, it's going to be a while before it gets scheduled. Currently 155 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank, and the order banks are open right now. And you can place the Badlands order. It's just it won't schedule, it looks like, until mid-March. So no reasoning. Sometimes they don't tell us why. In this case, they don't. So, all right, moving on. 24 model year Edge. Looks like it is scheduling for production weeks, the weeks of February 5th through March 4th. So they are trying to finish out Edge production for total. I mean, they're sunsetting Edge. So if you're wanting an Edge, they did open the order banks back up for the Edge for non-STs. So if you want a 2.0 liter engine Edge, you can place it. They did open it back up. And there's currently 838 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank. We don't have any. So if you actually wanted one, we could place one and get it probably scheduled. I think we have like an allocation. All right. Moving on. 24 model year Ranger. No scheduling this week. Scheduling will resume next week. So, or that's next week. The 14th is the next time they will start scheduling again for Ranger. I did notice most of our Ranger orders that had already been scheduled are set for January build dates. I think we have 1 in December. The rest of them are the beginning of January. I assume that's where most of them are laying right now. We've got a dealer memo. We'll talk about that in just a second, where they said, we'll keep you updated December. And they did. So we'll go over that in just a little bit. There are currently 4,318 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank for the Ranger. Does not include Raptor. So don't know how many Raptors are in there. And then the order banks are open up for the 24 Ranger right now. 2.7 liter, by the way, is not showing up yet. So not quite available as well as far as I know. Moving on. 24 model year Bronco. So they are scheduling. It says January cleanup scheduling. February priority scheduling is for Raptor, Everglades, Heritage, and Heritage Limited. So that means that they're going to schedule regular Broncos for January, that they can fill those holes. So January cleanup scheduling. So again, trying to fill those last holes. February, though, priority will be to the Raptor, Everglades, Heritage, and Heritage Limited if your dealer has those available and they have allocations available. Like I said, all of ours are already used. It does say Raptor will require the optional beadlock wheel 64T in the vinyl interior to be selected for January scheduling. Well, they just talked about they're going to prioritize this in February. I don't think they know what they're doing. And then also important notice: don't forget the order banks are closed for those Heritage. Right? When was that supposed to be? December? Yeah. Order banks are closed for Heritage Edition and Heritage Limited Edition. So that is done. Everything else should be open for order banks. Currently, only 5,381 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank. Only 5,000 for the Bronco. That's the lowest number it's ever been. Well, until they switched over from 23 to 24. But now here's some numbers that I can give you. Again, I don't want to place the shots on there and get myself in trouble, but there's currently 1,302 Heritage Edition orders. That'd be 2-door, 4-door, both. It doesn't actually separate that out. Only 60 Everglades orders, and Everglades capacity is like 1.5%, the last I heard, and 340 manual transmissions, which is not that many. And they have not told us what that percentage is going to be. I know the sheet that's going on Bronco 6G is showing 0%. That's just because I think that carried over and someone didn't update the percentages from last year because it was 0% at that part of job 2 last year. That just hasn't been updated. So, and the order banks are open up for everything except for the Heritage and Heritage Limited for the Bronco. So, and they're scheduling fast. I think we're down to like less than 10 unscheduled retail orders for the Bronco. So, place your orders. You shouldn't take you long to get scheduled. Most dealerships could probably schedule pretty quick. We are very close, maybe 1 month out from being to the point where you can order and get it in like, 8 to 12 weeks. That's pretty impressive. So that's pretty good that they're getting there. Again, a lot depends on what you order. Everglades is a very low, scheduling or capacity. Raptor is low. Heritage Edition is low. But if you're looking at any of the other trims, it's not. I mean, it's really to where you could order just about anything, even a hardtop, even a Sasquatch, even the Lux package, and without waiting too long. So place those orders. Don't be afraid that's going to take too long. 24 model year Maverick is doing cleanup scheduling as well for January and February build dates. Again, your dealership has to have an available allocation. We used all 150 of ours last week. So if your dealer has an unscheduled one or an allocation available, then you could get scheduled. Cleanup scheduling means, again, they're going to fill in those slots where they have available. More than likely, if you're looking and your dealership has an available allocation, if you have the XLT standard wheel, you probably won't get scheduled at this point. If you have like a black appearance package, or if you have an FX4 off-road package on the XLT, chances are a lot better. But I know the XLT standard wheel is really hard to get scheduled, especially when you get to the part where we're right now, where we're cleanup scheduling. Then you're probably, if you have that standard wheel, you're not going to get scheduled. So there's currently 20,656 unscheduled orders in the order bank. And think about this. Last month, they built 13,000 Mavericks. 13,000 Mavericks got built last month. So we are to the point where they probably won't schedule a lot for the remainder of January, February. But we're really close to being caught up completely on Maverick unscheduled orders. 81% of those are hybrids. 60% of those are XL. And the order banks are open up right now because, they can still build a lot more vehicles. So even 60% of the 20,000. So I know that's more than 10,000, but they can get that scheduled and built this model year easily. So, all right, moving on. And if you want to see that constraint list, I do preface this. If you do look at those constraint lists and such, you need to understand how to read those. And if you're not sure how to, we've talked about it in several of the other videos like last week. Watch that video if you want to get a good explanation of what that all means. 24 model year Explorer. And they are scheduling for January cleanup scheduling for production. It says January scheduling, but it says that they're scheduling for January and February build dates, so I'm not sure which is right. Order banks are open up for 24 model year. Again, don't forget, they're only going to produce those for 4 months, January, February, March, and April. Only 161 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank. And last chance to get your King Ranches and Timberlines because they will not make those for the new for 25 model year. That's all I have for Explorer. Moving on, 24 model year Expedition. They are scheduling. Don't forget the Platinum will require the optional 22-inch wheel. There's currently 51% of the unscheduled orders in the order bank that have the standard wheel. Those people will not get scheduled without going to the optional wheel. And we've had that same note for a long time. Limited 302A will require the sandstone trim as well. And there's currently 1,471 unscheduled orders in the order bank. And again, 700 of those have the standard wheel that won't schedule. So really, we have 700 orders that are available to schedule. So that shouldn't be too hard. And again, the order banks are open up for the 24 Expedition. Moving on, 24 model year Mach-E. They are scheduling. It says January cleanup scheduling. They're scheduled for January as well as the first 3 weeks of February. It looks like currently only 28 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank. So not too many there. Order banks are open up, and probably most of those 28 will get scheduled. So, and don't forget, order banks are open up for the Select and the Premium. GT is not opened up yet, and we haven't heard. It'll probably be January before we hear anything about that in the rally. So, all right, moving on to the 24 model year Super Duty. It says job to system fill. Is what it's saying here. So it says scheduling production for weeks at Kentucky will be January 1st through January 29th, the weeks of those. And then for Ohio from the weeks of January 29th through the weeks of February 12th. And there's currently 23,937 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank. Order banks are open up. Keep in mind, King Ranch Platinum Limited are really difficult, very low percentages. So there's currently 20% of those orders that are King Ranch with only 4% capacity. On the Platinum, 25% of those 23 or 24,000 orders are Platinum orders with 5% the capacity. And on the Limited, the capacity is 14%, 14% of the orders of the 24,000 are limited orders with only 2% capacity on those. And then also the high output diesel engine, over almost 60% of the unscheduled orders have the high output engine versus 10% as their capacity. So I did look up our orders. We have 8 Super Duty orders that are previewing. 7 of the 8 have the high output diesel engine. And when I say previewing, that means that they are looking at those to schedule them. So they're really, contemplating scheduling those on Thursday. So they kind of preview several orders. So that not necessarily that they'll schedule, but a really good chance that they will. 7 of 8 are the high output diesel engine. So if you have the high output diesel engine, your chances are actually pretty decent, probably, because ours are getting looked at, as well as not only that, but 3 platinums of the 8. 3 platinums, 1 King Ranch. So half of them are the harder ones to get scheduled, and then the other 4 are Lariats. So there you go. So this might be the week for you guys on the Platinum and King Ranches. 24 model year F-150. They are scheduling this week for production week of February 12th. Currently 5,138 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank. The order banks are open up, and really there's not any constraints on about anything on the F-150. If anything, it'd be the Lariat Black Appearance Package, which is about 8% of the orders have that on them, and their capacity is 7%. So they're right close, but so you should be able to order about anything other than, don't forget, trimmer is not, you can't order trimmer right now. They didn't mention Raptor this week. In the past, they've said Raptor 802A and 803A were not going to get scheduled, but they took that off for this week. So I don't know, either they're not scheduling Raptor, or maybe they will start scheduling the 802 and 803As. So we did actually place, I think, an 802A order today, so we'll find out. But again, your dealership would need a Raptor allocation. Those are separate from your regular allocations. All right, 24 model year F-150 Lightning, they're scheduling for the same week as the F-150. The week of February 12th. Order banks are open up. They don't give us a number of how many unscheduled orders there are like they do the others. So we don't know what's going on there. Don't forget, order banks are open up, including the Flash, XLT. All those are available right now. 24 model year Transit, last one here. They are scheduling for production weeks, the weeks of January 29th through February 5th. Currently, 6,403 unscheduled retail orders in the order bank, which are open up if you want to place a transit order. There are some transit order constraints, but yeah, I won't get into all that. So I think that's all I have. So we'll just jump into some questions here. All right, got any questions for me?
Yes. The question that's on my mind, I will answer right before we transition.
Okay.
If I can get my screen to get back big. There we go. All right. So we have, and I may go back in order. Will Ford ever change standard wheel during year if they run out of the other, like on an XLT Mav?
No, they might make some job two changes to the wheel. But
But
right,
it wouldn't be because of constraints.
yeah. So basically, there's a certain capacity that the vendor that they're working with or supplier can make, and so they just got a lot more XLTs that are not, FX4 or black appearance package than they thought they would. I mean, because originally, like more than 50% of the orders were XLT,
Mm-hmm.
and so they wouldn't, that's the problem there. So I think maybe it might have been. I think they should offer an optional wheel on the XL.
Yeah.
But I think the reason they're not is because they want people to go XLT.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they offer the XLT wheel on the XL, they just make it an XLT at that
Yeah.
point. So, but I'm wondering if some of the XL capacity is the steel wheel. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
All right. If Super Duties are in Job 2, what will happen to the remainder of Job 1 orders that didn't get
Okay.
scheduled?
So an order in the order bank isn't a job one order necessarily. So if you ordered at the beginning when job one was going, it doesn't make your order just a job one. It's an order. So the difference is that when they shift to job two, that's how they're going to be built. So if they make a change, like an example of that is on the Maverick a couple years ago when what they did on the Maverick, they changed the temperature from actually being able to read the temperature where it said 80 degrees or 78 to just a little temperature icon, and it showed it on the screen. So that was just a change they made for job two. So that just meant that everything that was ordered or scheduled at that certain point then would have that change to it, without you being able to make that option. So that's the difference. So if they make any significant changes between job one and job two, it's just your order will still be built and scheduled. It's still being looked at. It's just now it's going to be built with any changes that they make, and sometimes they don't tell us what those little modification or changes are, and sometimes they don't make any changes.
Yeah.
It's just that they just they kind of separate into two production runs. So
All righty.
somebody asked me that, or asked me, but they put it in one of the forums. They said, when are we going to see the job two Bronco order bank or order guide? Well, we don't really.
No.
I mean, they won't sometimes on the order guide you might see it actually say that it's a job two order guide, but only if there's a job two change that there is significant. Otherwise they won't tell us that that's a job two order. A lot
Sometimes
of them,
he has to sit there and go through and find the one thing that changed, and sometimes it's just the spelling.
oh yeah, I mean, I went through, and we'll talk about that actually because there were some for today or for this month. Usually at the beginning of every month there's a what they do, an update to the order guide. At the beginning of every month they'll find some error, which what's really funny is on the F-150 Lightning they did update it, but they still didn't include the heat pump, so which is really weird. But anyway, all right, next question.
I have a 24 Escape ordered. Last week, I got an email from Ford stating the continued supply chain issues are slowing things down. Have you heard anything about this?
Okay, so that's just Ford's way of saying that they've communicated with you every 45 days. So that's just a canned email for them.
Those are the 45-day emails that the Maverick owners get and the Bronco owners get.
Yeah, so if
You've
yours
joined
doesn't,
the list.
yeah, if yours doesn't schedule in a certain time frame, you'll just get that email. So like you can look at it now and figure out what 45 days are from today, and if yours doesn't schedule by then, you'll get that same email again. But Escape really, well, Yeah, production escape hasn't been great. I think right now I don't think we have any we don't have any technically in stock. We have recall. We have some vehicles that are in stock, but they have recalls, so we can't sell them, so they're not on our website.
Yeah. All right. That's not scheduling. That's not scheduling. That's not scheduling. Here we go. Sorry. So only 60 Bronco Everglade orders were ordered, or those are ones not scheduled. That makes them quite a rare bird. Wonder why more customers do not like the look.
Okay, so they scheduled a bunch of Everglades 2 weeks ago. So there's a couple weeks ago before Thanksgiving where they did specific scheduling for Everglades, Heritage Edition, and Raptors. And so they scheduled a bunch of Everglades. We have 3 Everglades orders, and they all scheduled that week. That's why you're only seeing like 60 Everglades. So that's probably how many orders have actually been put in since they did the scheduling. Because I think about every Everglades was scheduled. That could be a couple weeks ago. This week was basically all the others got scheduled. But with that in mind, because Everglades capacity is 1.5%, that's lower than the Heritage Edition capacity. Think about that. Actually, I was planning on doing a video of what's a good buy and maybe some things to think about, and what are they going to be the rare ones. And if you can get one at a good deal, wouldn't be a bad idea to get. And Everglades will be on that list because capacity is 1.5% versus 3%. And that 1.5 may be because not that many people order it, which is a very big possibility. And in that case, then it wouldn't necessarily be that rare. But what hurts the Everglades is not being available in the 2.7 liter engine. Yes. So
yeah,
I like it. I like the trim. I'm not a big fan of the snorkel because I don't need one, but I like the graphics on the side, some other things about it. I like the wheel.
Is that snorkel removable?
I think there'd be a hole, like where it goes in.
So if you 3D printed,
maybe not. I don't know.
I'll look at it. All right.
Or you can just get something else and get those wheels aftermarket because those wheels are available. Basically, it's standard. It's a black diamond.
But I like the graphics.
Yeah, true. But you can basically that vehicle is a black diamond.
We all know
Sasquatch.
I'm either gonna get a blue freewheeling Bronco Sport or a Robin's Egg blue Bronco Sport. That's what my.
Well, we got 6 or 7 Bronco Sports are supposed to schedule this week, so go in there and change the color if you want one.
No, I can't right now. All right. Has Ford ever offered a set of winter tires or wheels as an option or an incentive to get a different trim level?
No.
So they haven't offered like tires or wheels, but we've seen them offering, like last year with the Maverick, they offered the rail kit, right? The rail system, if you got spray and bed liner, right?
Okay, yeah, but that has nothing to do with this. Like
No.
winter tires, like
No, we haven't seen that where they offer winter tires or wheels as an option or an incentive to get a different trim level.
No, because I mean that means they have to have some way of getting those tires and wheels to you.
Yes.
Right. Which is probably why for originally the Bronco was supposed to get the dual top at launch 21, and then it didn't for a while. And I think it was because they were trying to figure out how we're going to get it to them. We don't want to ship all these to the dealer.
Well, she's saying, so like offer a different tire or wheel on a different trim so that you switch trims to get you completely out of that trim.
I mean, that's what the different trim levels are for.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already dictated, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd offer a separate one. So there are a lot of people who they'll put winter tires on their vehicle, and that's just something they have to do separate.
Right. Yeah.
Because when they're making vehicles for all over the country, they can't dictate of where they're going to live, whether they're going to be in Florida or if they're going to be in Maine, right? So,
all right. 24 XLT Lux build site won't let you add bed mat with drop in. Will the mat still fit? Like if they bought it aftermarket.
I mean,
Does the mat fit with the spray and bed liner?
it probably won't fit perfectly because now you have what, a fourth of an inch of liner in there. So the bed mat is measured to fit in there without it. So when you add the drop-in liner, then it's probably not gonna fit completely in there. It'll probably be, you probably can put it down, and it's probably gonna do is round up on the edges because it won't fit perfectly.
Yeah.
But the drop-in bed liner is modular. Niles, see, we need someone that has one that we can have fun with and take off and show you how modular it is.
Yes.
But I want to, if we get a stock one, we might just do it. We might just do it. Derek won't mind, right? Shh. We'll ask for forgiveness later. But no, we those that actually I want to do a video on that, on the modular drop-in liner. I gotta make sure people know that is a modular drop-in liner. Those 4 pieces. So anyway,
how long does a Maverick generally stay in production status? It changes. So sometimes we'll see a vehicle in production for a few days. Sometimes it changes.
So this is a status. So you have on order status, you have scheduled, you have production, you have shipped, and you have delivered. So the in production status changes from on order to in production about 2 weeks before. It's 10 days, about a week to 10 days, maybe 2 weeks before its build date. It'll actually flip to in production. So your vehicle won't be being produced when the day that flips over. It's being sent to, the order is being sent to the plant, is what they call it. So technically it can stay in production for 2 to 3 weeks before you see that shipped status.
Yes.
So that's just a status. There's a lot of sub statuses, I like to call it, within that status. So while it's in production, you're going to see the order sent to plant. The order is being built. It's being sent to the mod center. It's coming back from it. I think they call it body company. Coming back from body company, it's being released. So you'll see a produced status at some point once it comes back from the mod center, and then it'll get released, and then you'll see it being changed to shipped. And so there's a lot going on within that production.
Yeah.
That you don't see.
Depending
and
on
so,
the model,
technically it can stay there for a long time.
Depending on what model choices you've made on your options and all of that can also make a difference on how long it stays there. Because something that's quick, easy, nothing else needed from the body shop or anything, I've seen those go through within a week.
Yeah,
in and out.
But it'll start to go. It'll go into production when that order is sent to plant, which is usually about 10 days to 2 weeks before the actual build date. Right. So anything that's being built in 2 weeks from now could go into in production today. Right. And it could stay in there and then be produced. And then if it's an easy thing where it doesn't have anything extra, it could then switch over within a week. But I'd say at the very minimum, you're expecting it's going to be in production for at least 2 weeks because of the various sub, right?
Yep.
The things that happens within it.
All right. And those are our scheduling questions. The rest of our questions I've pulled aside and seen from everyone, I will keep until we've hit the topic. Either you've asked a question that we're going to be talking about later, or I've saved it for the Q&A after we've gone over everything.
All right.